Look who's having some fresh salmon. That salmon was in the Atlantic Ocean about 8 hours ago. It's a good salmon? On restaurantware as well. We do it in style here. Oh yeah.
There's an old curiosity shop. Every once in a while I go by there for the fond recollections that lie there in that old curiosity shop.
Hi everyone, I'm Scott from the Old Curiosity Shop, and I'm back with another, well, it's not a kitchen counter thrift haul because I ain't in the kitchen. It's too hot in the kitchen. Oh my goodness. We're having a heat wave in Philly. It was 97 degrees yesterday. Now, we Yankees just don't like that heat. And if you go to the Jersey Shore, you can't really have a good time because you gotta make sure you're not sneezing on anybody or within 2 feet of anybody. So I'm gonna stay right here with the electric fan, which I turned off because it's making too much noise. But I'll be fine. Today it's Diet Coke. Now look, sometimes you're just in the mood for Coca-Cola, and I can't really tell the difference between Diet Coke and regular Coke, and this was all they had, so I'm gonna have some Diet Coke. What are you guys doing to stay cool? The link to my eBay store is listed in the description box just underneath this video. But you don't have to buy anything. I love the fact that you tune in and your memory gets jogged. And sometimes you find something that you'd like to live with, and that's fantastic. And sometimes you just enjoy sitting back, reminiscing with stuff that your parents had or your grandparents had. Or maybe you're a young person in your 20s and you don't remember any of this in real time, but it's fun to look at things from the past. Excuse me. So I have a variety of things here on the table that I'm about ready to show you, and there's no reason why we shouldn't start with a nice cool pitcher of orange juice made, I'm pretty certain, by Anchor Hocking. 1940s, 50s, these ball jars were very popular then, and you can see that the graphic on it is very strong on both sides. It has the ice lip, which is nice to have. That's that thing that keeps the ice cubes from falling out. And this is in really good condition, this little ball pitcher. Perfect size for breakfast. Now, it would have come with little juice glasses. They're gone, but this has no dishwasher damage, and it's in super nice condition. I really like that. While we're at the breakfast table, let's pass around the salt and pepper. Here's a tiny one in lusterware. Probably most of the lusterware was made between the wars, meaning 1918 to, for us Americans, 1941. For a lot of you in Europe, 1938. Wait a minute, 1914. But try to say when the wars began. Anyway, between the First and Second World Wars, most of the lusterware was made, and it was made in Germany, and Japan, and Czechoslovakia, and Poland, and here in the U.S. These are 2 little Japan salt and pepper shakers in a typical color, purple. There's a cork in that one, and none in that, but that's okay. Marked made in Japan on the bottom. These are perfect for the breakfast table. You don't need much salt and pepper on your bacon and eggs. Our grandparents, well, depending on how old you are, maybe it's our great-grandparents, would pour syrup out of something like this. Now this looks like the King's Crown that was popular again in the 50s, and it was. But this is a much earlier piece, sometimes called thumbprint, and this probably dates to before the 1920s. And it's flashed on. The glass is not this color. It's a color that is flashed on whoosh, when it's being made. and it will scratch off. As we can see, there's one little scratch right there, tiny little scratch. There's nothing on this, which is great. Usually, if it's a souvenir piece, it'll say Mildred, Atlantic City, 1907, or something like that. Just one little milk pitcher. Now we're going to really go back to the Victorian breakfast table with this. EAPG, Early American Pressed Glass or Early American Patterned Glass. With research, I would figure out who made it, U.S. Glass Company or, well, I didn't do my research, but one of the glass companies who were making Early American Pressed Glass in the late Victorian era made this, which is referred to as a syrup jug or a syrup can or just a syrup pitcher. And it has a pewter top, and it has on the inside it says patent applied for and 172. So that could be that the patent was, they applied for patent in January of 1872. That's usually what that means. And that's what's on the inside of the lid. And the patent is probably, now we're all familiar with the jugs of laundry detergent that when you, after you've poured it out, you turn the jug back up, it spills back inside of a little receptacle so it doesn't drip down the sides. Well, look at this. That's been around for longer than you think. There's the spout right there, but look, there's a little trough right here around that spout to catch the syrup so it doesn't drip down and get all sticky and all over Granny's table. It will sort of collect in this rim. That's probably what the patent was that they were applying for, although I don't know that for sure. It's just my guess. This is blown and it has a polished pontil, which you may not be able to see on the bottom. Nice to find it with a lid like that. That's from the breakfast table of the 1880s, 1890s. Okay. That was good. Let's look at some planters. I'm going to leave my favorite for the last. You've seen this before. Nobody wanted it. So I put it in the closet and got it back out again. It's a nice little Japan-made Dutch boy, all in his little costume there, standing next to a basket with nothing in it. He's very proud of himself with his hands on his hips, but that face, I don't know. So, little planter again before the Second World War. This dates to the 1930s. Okay, and then much better quality from Deutschland. We can see clearly says Germany on the bottom. On the bottom, can you see that? You can see that. And if we look at this piece of German porcelain, I mean, the difference is marked from the Japan to the German. Much better made. A little bit of a luster peach color here on his basket. What is it with these Dutch and empty baskets? Now, I've got lots of viewers in the Netherlands, so I want to know, do you guys carry around a lot of empty baskets? What is supposed to be in those baskets and why are they empty? So he's got his little wooden shoes on here. I'm guessing it's supposed to be a nice little Dutch character. I like his colors, his coloring, but again, he went shopping and brought back nothing in his basket. And the last planter I'll show you, you saw me thrift this. I put it in my basket thinking it might be an early piece of McCoy, and it is. It dates to 30s. It's unmarked, but these pieces of McCoy were not marked at that time. This is nice. There aren't any cracks in it. There's one little spot right here where it dinged against something in the cabinet and a tiny, tiny pinhead size of glaze came off right there. Not a huge deal. But if you're a collector of McCoy, you might be interested in this because it's an early piece. And it's a small planter. All right. And the final piece I want to show you is not a planter, but it is my favorite. And this I found at a flea market a couple of weeks ago, and I went back and forth trying to decide whether I wanted to sell it or not. But she's up for sale in the old curiosity shop, and she's fantastic. Check her out. She's made in the 1930s in Japan, made in Japan. And she's just a decorative porcelain bathing beauty, just a figurine to sit around and enjoy. Now, the Jersey Shore is less than an hour away from where I'm sitting right now, and I have friends and relatives there all summer long, but it's not the safest place to be right now, although things are better. We're still taking lots of precautions, and so this is the only bathing beauty I'm going to be looking at for a while. Very 1930s. She's got her umbrella. Kind of looks like one of the Campbell's Soup kids in her little bathing suit. And I've never seen it before, which doesn't necessarily mean anything. There's a lot of things I've never seen before. But when it comes to Japan figurines, it's something that I think would be harder to find. So there she is, 1930s. I love this. Probably made by L.E. Smith, but I don't know that for sure. Could be one of the other companies. It's a black glass dish. We always say black amethyst. A lot of times this one is so black and the glass is so thick that when I hold it up I don't see anything. So whether it's purple under there or amber under there, I don't know. Doesn't really matter. But it's black glass with a little heart handle. And sometimes you'll see this referred to as for little shot glasses to sit on here, or lemons, or olives to be passed around, whatever you'd like it to be. Black glass became a fad in the late 1920s. And was popular through the 30s, and L.E. Smith made a lot of it. Another piece of glass, this one mid-century, and I think this is made by Viking. Now, Viking made all those swung vases, you know, in orange and aqua and all that stuff. And I'm not an expert. Well, I'm not an expert on anything, but I'm not very knowledgeable on mid-century glass. I'm learning. And so there's nothing on this. There probably was a paper label on it at one time. And I don't have a price guide or a book or anything, but I think this might be made by Viking. It's very thick glass, and it appears to be double dipped. You see that? There are two layers of the glass. Really pretty. And it's in a very mid-century color. Not quite aqua, not quite cobalt, not quite turquoise, but that sort of 60s blue. And it looks really nice in the bright light. That's also in very good condition. Now, I should save this for my Christmas in July sale, which I am going to do at some point during this month. I promise you that. I've got a lot of Christmas to sell you. Because we all remember these from Christmas time. They sat down in that log that was on the coffee table. You know what I'm talking about. That tree trunk sort of log that had all the nuts in it. And these things were all stuck in the middle of it. Well, here's an original. Hasn't even been used. Quackenbush. Quackenbush. That's the set your mother had. It's the set my mother still has. And here it is. So that's in the old curiosity shop right now as well. The cracker and the 6 picks. All right, from I guess the 60s, maybe the early 70s, Imperial Glass was making a lot of, or reintroducing many pieces of Carnival glass, and sometimes there were brand new molds. Now we know this is Imperial because they did a really good job marking everything. You may not see it, but in the lid there, way in the center of the lid, there's an I and a G, and you'll see it better in the bottom. You see that? Now I don't remember when they started doing that, but just like Fenton started embossing things, Fenton in the early 70s, it would be sometime in the 60s when Imperial Glass and Westmoreland and a lot of the glass companies were stamping embossed marks. And that's what this dates to. It's not 1910 to 1920, it's much newer than that, 60s and 70s. But it's still pretty well done, and it's in a nice amethyst color. The base color of it is clear glass, which is how we tell Carnival. And this is just a random sort of candy dish kind of a thing with a matching lid, no chips or cracks on that. Now go Canada. You go Canada. Look what my Canadians have sent me. Look at this little thing. Now this is made by, from what I understand, the Glow Hill Company, which I know nothing about. And it's so mid-century mod, a little bit on the deco side. I love these little red Bakelite feet that it stands on. Remember all the coffee tables in the 60s had these feet, or legs? And cherry red Bakelite handles, which are not showing up well in this. There's a little bit of the red. You see that? And then the little feet on the bottom. So there are several pieces made by that company, chrome or stainless steel. And I guess this is just a little, just to be used as a serving piece. Stand it on your table and put a little casserole dish on it or something. This isn't really neat. No marks on it or anything, but it's in really good condition. Very mid-century. So, thumbs up to my Canadian friends. I like that. Now let's go to Chicago. That toddling town. And the E. Kratzinger Company, K-R-A-T-Z-I-N-G-E-R of Chicago. They're the ones who made this cake pan, which has a birthday. So if you buy this, you can celebrate the birthday of this cake pan. It was patented on December the 18th, 1923. That means my great-grandmother could have made a cake in this. So, I don't know what, you made angel food cake in this, I guess. But here is the advertising, and it says Swans, you can't see it. Swans down cake flour makes better cakes. And that's what it says on the inside. There's the reverse of it. Okay, on the underside. And it's perfectly clean. I cleaned it. What's weird in the pictures is it looks, the marks that are on this tin or whatever it is kind of looks like grease marks or butter marks. There's no food in this. It's completely clean. So there's no old nasty kitchen drippings to clean out when you get it. And you could probably use it. Look at these little vents that pop up. Okay? And then it's clearly marked here on the sides, and it says Swans Down Cake Pan with the patent of 1923, and then the company that it was licensed by in Chicago. Cake pan from the 1920s. Here is a green, beautiful color on this crackle glass vase. This stuff became popular again in the 60s and 70s. Not sure when this was made. There's nothing on the bottom of it. And it's in excellent condition, and I mainly bought it because I really like the color. There are a lot of crackle glass crackle glass collectors out there, and Now there's no uranium in this, it won't fluoresce under black light, but it is a nice crackle glass mid-century piece. Hopefully one of my Pennsylvania viewers will jump on this. It's a little drink tray in tin. I'm not sure why they put the pine cones on there. We don't necessarily have more pine trees in Pennsylvania than anywhere else in the country, but they put them on there. In fact, when I was looking this tray up, they put different states in the middle, and they all put pine trees on them, whether it was North Carolina, Massachusetts, or Pennsylvania. Everybody got the pine cone treatment. I'm not sure why. But there's the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania right in the middle. And this looks like something that would have been from the 1960s. Little souvenir, kind of a drink tray. I bought that for the fun of it. Made in Japan, and it says M-A-U-R-I, Marurai, Japan. Is either the maker or the importer, and it's a little bisque. Did I show you this before, but I didn't list it? Well, it's listed now. Little bisque figurine. A little boy there, sort of just daydreaming. That looks like me in school. That's what I did. Always got in trouble for daydreaming. And back then, they were allowed to write that stuff on your report card. He will amount to nothing. He's a big daydreamer. No, they didn't say he won't amount to nothing, but they could say all kinds of things on report cards that they don't say now. Thank goodness, right? But anyway. Look at that little face, which doesn't want to focus. There it goes. Just daydreaming away on a hot summer day. Just a little figurine. Now these two things were in like two thrift hauls ago, and I forgot to list them. A pink serving bowl, console bowl, fruit bowl, whatever you will, in a spiral optic pattern from the 1930s. I finally got that listed. And then there are two of these, although I'm only showing you one now. Purple, or amethyst, cup and saucer. This looks a lot like Mount Pleasant, but Paden City also made a pattern that looks very much like Mount Pleasant. Look how Art Deco that handle is. So there are two of these listed, just two cups and saucers in amethyst. These, obviously, are going to sort of date to probably the late 50s into the 60s. Now, there's a couple of clues about these. These were liquor jars of some sort. And on the bottom, they say federal law prohibits resale. And that had to be on all glass liquor jars that were for sale between, I think, 1935 and 1964. So we know these date between 1935 and 1964. And although this blue is sort of a 1930s color, Delphite blue, the design is much more early 60s. So these, I think, although they're missing stoppers, I think these were from the early 60s, but I did no research. That's just, I'm just sort of guessing by the design, this sort of Greek pitcher design. Anyway, somebody had them in their collection and they were using them as vases, I guess, on either side of a mantle. You could do something really neat with those. I like the cobalt blue, or not cobalt blue, the powder blue color, or the Delphite color, and they're made of glass, and I'm selling them as a pair. Finally, the Royal Hager Nude Nymph. Now, those of you of a delicate nature might want to turn the other way. It's a little racy. All right? Very scantily, actually, we can't say scantily clad. She's not clad in anything, but it's 97 degrees in Philly. I think I'll join her. She is holding up a cornucopia, I guess, or some type of horn. There's nothing in it. And it is made by Royal Hager. They liked this kind of glaze. There she is in all her glory. Nothing on the bottom. You saw several pictures of this with the old paper label that was not on this one, but on examples like it. She is in excellent condition, and there she is. Well, that's it. I've been busy. As I said, it's all listed in the old curiosity shop for you to take a look at, and I want to thank you. Now, I apologize. I promised over the 4th of July weekend a fantastic video which I did not deliver, and the reason for that is because I could not find the footage. I was going to piece together for you a true Philadelphia 4th of July with footage of fireworks and parades and concerts in front of Independence Hall and the ceremonial tapping of the Liberty Bell down at Independence Square just a few blocks from here. It was going to be a big Philly celebration on the 4th of July. Our country was born right here in this city. I can't find it. Obviously, it's stuff that I filmed either last year or the year before, and it's around here somewhere. I'll find it. So don't be surprised if in the middle of October you get a 4th of July parade. I'm going to somehow piece that together for you as soon as I can find the footage. All right, as soon as I turn this camera off, I'm turning that oscillating fan back on. I hope it's cool, or at least you're staying cool wherever you are. Thanks for watching. I'm Scott from the Old Curiosity Shop saying thanks for watching, and so long for now. I think I'll go get a popsicle.